Planning and Zoning meeting, April 9th, 2020, 7 p.m. to order. I'd like to start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. I think now of all times, we need it more than ever. Please join me. I'll hold up a little flag the best I can. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Wrong.
Kind of worked.
We would never make a choir. Okay, can I have roll call, please?
Ken Nelson.
Present.
Charles Ladd.
Here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
Mary Scott. Absent. Virginia Higley. Absent. Frank Alimo. Absent. John Petronella.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
Dane Thorogood. Absent. And Richard Suzak is here.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of March 12th, 2020's regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, concerns, or alterations?
Look very good to me.
Okay. All righty. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson.
4.
Charles Ladd.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Frank Alimo, are you in? No. John Petronella.
4.
Vinnie Grillo.
4.
And Richard Suzak will abstain because I was absent from that meeting. And I believe that's
At this time, I believe we need to sit alternates. How many alternates do we need, Lori? Lori?
I would think you
2. Okay. I'd like.
So, Vinny is on, right?
Vinny's on and John Petronella.
Okay, yep.
So I'd like to seat John Petronella and Vinnie Grillo for this meeting. Okay. And are there any bond releases this evening?
No bond releases.
No bond releases. And there are no continued public hearings. And we have no current public hearings at this time, new ones. Old business, 2 Broadbrook Road, conveyance of the property owned by the town of Enfield. I'd like to start off with last meeting. I had stated that I was going to abstain because I had a possible conflict. I no longer have the conflict, so I will not be abstaining. Rich Suzak, I know you had some concerns about this. They did send out today a list of requirements they're going to require the new owners to abide by. Have you had a chance to review them?
You know, I have, in terms of, and I did have the opportunity to go out and look at the property before the epidemic or whatever we're having nowadays, the coronavirus thing. And, you know, and again, I guess looking at it, you know, from, you know, both a personal and a professional viewpoint, what I did notice the fact that, you know, it is a relatively old building. It was built in the 1850s or 1860s, I believe. And then there was an addition that was put on in the 1940s or 1950s. And realistically, it appears that the building is in fairly good condition in terms of its structural systems, but it does have some localized deterioration associated with the age of the building and the fact that it is kind of, you know, hasn't been maintained. So, you know, with that said, you know, and I looked at the covenants that we have going forward, and they seem to be, you know, somewhat good and accurate. And ultimately, you know, what we'll have to do is see if, you know, we have somebody who can abide by all the restrictions that are more or less indicated. And, you know, I have some ideas of how we could sort of, you know, make some relaxation of some of these covenants so that it is a little more appealing to a future owner. But other than that, you know, I did look at it and I think that, you know, we should, you know, go forward with the referral.
Sorry, anyone else wishing to speak? And I'm ready to move forward. So if I can get a motion to move forward, if that's what the commission would prefer to do.
You know, I'll make that motion that we have our 824 referral to the town council in a positive sense, that we go forward with the possibility of having, you know, the property conveyed to another owner.
Second.
Okay, it's motion's been made and seconded. Can I have roll call, please?
Ken Nelson,
4.
Charles Ladd,
4,
Linda DeGray,
4,
Virginia Higley,
4,
John Petronella,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
Frank Alimo, are you in yet?
I'm here. 4.
And Richard Suzak is 4.
Okay, do we have too many members voting at this time with the 2 alternates sitting since Ginny and Frank have joined us?
I was here at the beginning. My speaker didn't work, so I had to dial in so I could use my phone.
Okay. Lori?
But if you want me to abstain, you know, I'll take my vote back if you want.
Well, you had seated the other 2 before the vote, so I would keep with that. But then if you want the regular members, you could reseat them.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I just want to clarify, who is the 3062023?
Mary Ann. I'm sorry. Turner. Oh, Mary Ann, hello.
I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. Hi, Marianne. Thank you. Just wondering if you were one of the other commissioners, because I can't find Frank yet. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next, I would like to move on to site plan review. SPR 1806. Anyone in attendance for the applicants for 37 Bacon Road, please state your name and address for the record. Go ahead, Charlie.
Should I take roll call?
Oh, do we need to?
Probably, because we're going to have a realignment of.
Okay, yes.
Members.
Yep.
You need
Ken
to receive
Ken Nelson.
Here.
Charles Ladd.
here.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
Virginia Higley.
Here.
John Petronella.
Here.
Frank Alimo.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
And Richard Suzak is here.
Okay, the applicants. Go ahead, Charlie.
Good evening. Charles Mixada, Fire Chief with the Shaker Pines Fire Department. I live at 115 Cottage Road here in Enfield. I just want to thank you guys for letting me participate in, I guess, what is the first ever online planning and zoning meeting. It's pretty interesting. I know the times are a little tough, but I appreciate you guys getting together and moving this thing along. Just a little bit about the project. Our building is coming up on 30 years old. We're starting to have some issues. We have some roof issues. We have to replace the full roof. We're having some issues with the sprinkler system, with getting a lot of pinholes in it, because it's a dry system, and when it charges, you can't drain all the water out, so it's starting to rot from the inside out. Mechanical issues in the boilers and the air conditioning stuff. So what we're looking to do is add a small addition on the west side of the building. And a lot of that addition is going to be because of what has changed so much in the fire service over the last 30 years. And most of that place over there is going to be a decon area for our firefighters, a gear wash area where we clean our gear, and then a tool area where we store our tools and our extra equipment. Today with the firefighter cancer, the problem with the firefighter cancer, we're deconning guys more than we ever have before. So when we come back from a fire, they would get off the truck, walk in the door over there, do a gross shower, and then take their gear and put it in the gear washer, and then themselves take a shower, and that would hopefully keep anybody from getting cancer in the future. In the backside, on the north side, we're looking to put, we're having some growing pains, which I guess is a good thing. We need a few more offices. And we had to take the meeting room that we had and split it in half. We're using half of it as a gym for the firefighters, and the other half, it's a very small classroom. Now, we have a lot of people use our station for training. Enfield Police use it for EMT refresher training. Social Services uses it for plenty of meetings. Some of the condos association use it, and that room's just not big enough for them. So what we're looking to do out back is put a larger training room that we can, again, let people come in and use it for meetings, and also make a gymnasium out back there for the guys' physical fitness equipment. Again, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Again, the place is getting old. It's coming up on 30 years old, so it's showing some wear. And like a 30-year-old building, our boiler system right now, when we had it tuned up last year, was working at about 65% efficiency. So if we replace that, we should be able to get 95%. So we'll save about 30% just on the heating. Again, what we plan on putting extra parking places in there, so when people use it for meetings, that they'll have plenty of parking out back. Right now, we park on the grass. If you haven't been out there, we have 6.5 acres that belong to us, that was given to us by the former Hallmark Cards. One thing that makes the station unique, and I think it's really nice, is as you pull in the station, on the left-hand side, there's a sycamore tree. And if you ever saw it, it's a beautiful tree. We have people come down from UMass that are in taking pictures. They're in a photography class. They come down and take pictures of this tree. If you're ever out there, stop and take a look at it. It's enormous, and it's a real nice tree. It's got a lot of character. So again, we won't go anywhere near that thing. But if anybody has any questions on what we're trying to do, again, I'm going to let the experts, Dana and Dave, explain, the site plan and that type of stuff. I just thought I'd give you a little overview, but if anybody has any questions for me, I certainly would be glad to answer them. Dana?
One question for you, Charlie. Are you still moving forward with the training facility you were in front of us for a couple months ago?
We are. We're out fishing for funding. Again, we've been in contact with some of our federal legislators trying to get some funding for that. We're still trying to move that forward, but again, we're trying to get funding that's not going to affect the payers here in Enfield.
So this is a totally separate project.
Totally separate. Yep. This is just Shaker Pines Fire District, where the other training center will be the whole town.
Okay. So do we want to speak with Dana or Doug? Dana, would you like to start your presentation?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. For the record, Dana Steele, professional engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates. We prepared the site plan for this application. The property is located at 37 Bacon Road. It's in the I-1 zone, and it is surrounded by other industrial zones. And the building, which is shown on your site plan. Can everyone see the plans on the screen? I tried to share them.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to move back to the cover sheet, you can see the site where it is on Bacon Road, near the intersection of Bacon and Shaker Road, and the property. The plan is oriented with north facing up, and if we move to the demolition plan, existing conditions plan, you can see that the existing building in the middle of the site, the access drive off of Bacon Road coming into the front, it splits. You have going straight towards the overhead doors on the left. To the right is some angled parking on one side, and then some 90-degree parking on the east side of the building. And then coming around the building, there's some additional parking on the north side and another overhead doors. So there's a drive through. You can pull all the way through the building currently, so trucks can access from both sides and go in one side and out the other. So I think they usually come around, come in the back, and go out the front in order to have a quick response to emergencies. So you can see there's a number of, here's the large sycamore tree that Charlie mentioned. It's in the front of the sites that we're not touching. There's some other trees that were planted as part of the previous development. You can see them lining the perimeter of the site. It's like maybe there was, I'm guessing maybe there was one here at one time, and maybe it died and it was removed. And then in the back of the site, there is a cell tower. They lease some space to a cell tower company that's in this location. There's also a gazebo area, or it's a covered pavilion area, we're calling it. So it's a concrete slab with a roof over it, and they have some fire pits there for barbecues, and some lawn area in the back. So that's the existing conditions. There are wetlands on this property. We did receive a wetland approval for these activities. So we are now at planning and zoning seeking a site plan modification approval. So continuing on to page 3, that's our layout plan. This shows what's being proposed in just an overview standpoint. So there's 2 additions being proposed to this building. The first one is on the west side of the service bays, and as Charlie mentioned, they're going to be using this strip here for decontamination after coming back from a fire. They have chemicals on them that need to be washed off, equipment that needs to be they need to set aside in a separate area. So this will be providing that area to properly take care of the firefighters and their equipment. Then the other addition is so that's about 1,000 square feet. Then the other addition, about 3,000 square feet, is in the back, the north side of the building. It's going to be an extension onto the existing office and training areas for additional firefighter training and living areas. And so the sidewalk will be extended. The pavement around the building will be moved so that it extends out around that addition, and they'll be replacing the concrete pad on the north side of the overhead doors. And in this area here, from kind of the Y here where the parking splits, all the way back to the back here, it's all going to be repaved. So the front pavement will remain, and then the side and the rear will be repaved. Currently, there's 23 parking spaces on the site, and your regulations don't have a specific requirement for this type of use. It's a use that doesn't in itself require a lot of parking spaces, but they have found for events, when they have events at the firehouse, that they do need a fair amount of parking. So the 23 has not been adequate for them, and so they'd like to expand. And so this plan also includes some gravel parking in the rear. And they're proposing gravel because they're not going to be using it very often, but when they do need it, rather than parking on the grass, they want a hard surface, something that can be plowed in the winter, something that can be maintained. And perhaps at some point they'll pave it, but at this point they'd like to do a gravel surface for this periodic parking area. So by adding all this gravel parking with on the spaces and dimensions of aisles, all conform with your regulations, we have provided 54 parking spaces, so almost doubling the number of parking spaces on the site. And then that pavilion that was in the area of this gravel is going to be moved a little further back to the north in this corner. So those are the changes to the site. In addition, on the west side, in addition on the north side, and gravel parking area on the north, and a relocation of the pavilion. Moving on to the next page, this is our grading and utility plan. And as you'll see on this plan, we are proposing some new storm drainage to take care of the water and draining in this area, which currently sort of puddles there. Doesn't have an outlet, and so we'll be piping that to a new stormwater basin. Right now, all the stormwater from this site is just piped through the parking lot in pipes to this outlet structure here, where it then goes into the wetlands and across the road. Under the road. It goes through a culvert under the road. But what we're proposing to do is adding this addition and this gravel parking is increasing the amount of impervious surfaces on the site. And so because of that, we need to mitigate that. We can't have an increase in runoff from the site. So we need to collect and contain it, and what we call detaining the water, slowing it down. And so we're doing that by creating a stormwater basin in the southern portion of the lawn area here. And you can see, here's the existing vegetated line is that small scallop line. And then the proposed line is this larger scallop line with very little change to the buffer. Basically, all of the significant vegetation that's acting as buffers around this site now are going to remain. So just some very, very minimal clearing there to make room for this basin. Everything will be piped to the basin and then outlet to that same outlet. So we're not changing the location that the water is going. And by providing the stormwater basin, we're not going to be increasing the peak rate of runoff from the site. In addition to that, we're going to be providing a permanent pool below the outlet of the pipe. So this area will turn into a pond, and it will have water in it. And the reason for that is that it allows the stormwater to settle out before it gets into the wetlands, before it leaves the site. Freshwater Brook runs from north to south along over the Hallmark property to the west. It runs through this area. This is that line here is Freshwater Brook. So this is going into Freshwater Brook. Freshwater Brook has flooding problems downstream, so we don't want to have any increase in runoff. Freshwater Brook is a natural resource. We don't want to pollute it. And so we're actually going to be making the site better. We're going to be bringing it up to current standards by providing treatment for this site and holding the water back, slowing it down, and allowing it to settle out and have vegetation as well. So there's two components to this stormwater basin. There's a forebay in the first part where the water first comes in, and then there's a second cell called the permanent pool. And in between is a shallow area where the water is very shallow, and we'll have like it's like a marshy type of mimicking a wetland, and which serves a water quality function. So this is going to act like a man-made wetland that will treat the water before it goes into the other wetlands. So so that's the plan for the stormwater for the site, and this is the utility plan, and we're providing all of the necessary utilities are already at the site. We just have to relocate a few of them to get around the additions: electric, water, sewer, and communications, and so all of those are depicted on the utility plan.
1 second, Dana.
Sure.
Commissioner Petronella, you have your hand up?
Commissioner Nelson, thank you. I just want to state for the record that I need to recuse myself from this application.
Okay. Continue, Dana. Thank you.
Sure. So after the utility plan, we have the landscaping plan, and this shows what is being proposed for seeding the shaded areas around the building, the parts that will receive new lawn treatment, as well as a calculation for landscape islands. These are your parking areas, A, B, C, and D, and the required interior landscaping islands associated with that, and canopy trees. Your regulations require a certain number of canopy trees, and we are adding 7 additional trees around the site. We've proposed a red maple that is very common in this area and grows well. I've heard some comments about maybe other species. Could we consider other species? And we certainly could if the commission would like us to. We think that the red maple would work well. A sycamore is another option. Obviously, this sycamore has done very well over the years. So that would be an alternative that we could consider if you wanted to see other species. But we think the red maple will work well. That's why we proposed it. The plan also includes which direction to go here, a lighting plan. So the site's already lit. All of these light poles, 1, 2, 3 along the front, a 4th one here, 5th one on the side, and a 6th one here. Those are all existing light poles. They're going to be replaced with new fixtures, conforming with your height requirements, your full cutoff fixture requirements. There'll be LED fixtures, so they'll be environmental. They'd be they use less energy. And then we're adding 3 additional poles in the back. So 1, 2, 3 around the gravel areas. In addition to that, we'll be replacing the building lights that go around the building, adding a few extra additional building lights around the addition. So all of that combined shows a foot candle level, which really can't see at this scale probably too well. But if you have plans and you zoom in, and I could figure out how to do that. I haven't tried to zoom in on this, but all of these dots around this area, this shaded area, are actually foot candle readings, and they show the intensity of the light under the light, around the light. And what that plan is demonstrating is that this is not going to have any light spillage off the site. So you can see the limits that we're showing here is where it gets to 0. So anything beyond that, there's no light spillage beyond that footprint. So that's what we're that's what we want to do, is not have any impacts to any of the abutters. Even though the abutters are all industrial, we're still demonstrating that we're contained within our site. And so I think that sums it up. We have some construction details and so forth. I'd like to next invite Dave Simmons from Mosier Pylon to talk about the building additions. We have some nice colored renderings for you. Unless the commission has any questions about the site plan, they'd like to ask me first. Any questions?
Commissioner Ladd, you had your hand up?
Yes. On that decontaminant washing, what do you do with the runoff? Is that, you said it could have hazardous chemicals and all that stuff in it. What are you doing with the runoff from there?
And again, what it is if we inherently go into a fire, we get soot and stuff on our firefighting gear, and it's just a water washing of that soot and stuff off of your gear. So it's not, I don't believe it's hazardous. It has carcinogen in it that if we left it on our gear would get into our skin and give us cancer. But I don't believe there is any recommendations to treat it as a hazardous material. It's just, it has a carcinogen in it because of the smoke that's on our fire gear, and we need to decontaminate the firefighting gear.
What did Water Pollution Control say about it, Charlie?
I haven't heard anything from there. They made comments, I believe. I don't think they said anything about that in the staff report that I'm aware of.
Because that'll be running into the wetlands, won't it?
No, that will be going into the domestic sewer.
Oh.
It'll go to the treatment plant. So it'll be treated.
Commissioner Ladd, Water Pollution Control basically just said, show on the plans the sewer trench detail, clean out detail, and invert elevations at the cleanouts. That was their only comments.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You all set?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner DeGray.
Just one question. When you did the landscaping, has any expert looked at that sycamore tree? The reason I ask is I drive by it every day and I see there's this big hole in it. And I always worry that it's going to fall and maybe fall on the driveway and block the trucks coming out. So I was just wondering if an expert has looked at that. I just want to make sure that it's not going to fall down.
Again, I have personally contacted the state to see if we could get an arborist out there to look at it, because if you know anything over in the Simsbury Farmington area, there's a sycamore tree with a sign on it that says oldest tree in the state. And if you measure this one around, I think it's bigger than that one over there. So I think it's the oldest tree in the state, but I can't get anybody to come up and take a look at it and tell me that. Again, we share your opinion on, but that thing, it's amazing. A day like today, or even high winds, the tree hardly moves. It's unbelievable. It may get some small branches coming off it. Again, I don't have a problem if we need to get somebody to come and look at it, to take a look at it. But as far as we think, it's pretty healthy, although there was a big limb there that fell off. That's where that hole in the tree is. That was a big limb at one time and fell off, and it is a big hole there. But you know, quite frankly, snowstorms and blizzards, and that I've been there, and the flag's standing straight out, and that tree's not moving.
Just my big concern is it does look like it's a big hole, could be rotted with where the limb fell off, and water gets in there, rot, termites, things like that. That was it.
And again, we can get somebody to come and take a look at it, and we'll do an evaluation on it.
Commissioner
Thank you.
Alamo.
Yes, good evening. Just a question on the rear parking area. It's gravel for now. So down the road, if they decide to go ahead and they think they want to pave that, they're going to have to come back to the planning and zoning or to wetlands to make any changes to that.
No, it's my understanding that to pave a gravel parking lot does not require a site plan modification. If you were expanding it, making it larger, then that might. But just to change the surface, I don't think it would. But I don't. Maybe Lori or Jen wants to weigh in on that.
Yeah, just because I know you said impervious and pervious, so the gravel is considered pervious or impervious?
No, the gravel is considered impervious, so it counts towards the impervious surface. And I actually, from my stormwater calculations, treated it as if it were paved, which is conservative. Okay. But that way, if it is paved, it's not going to change the calculations.
Right. Good. All right. So that was my concern, that if 2 years down the road they figured, okay, we're going to pave it, they have to go through this whole process again.
Yeah, I've run into that.
Or maybe in violation of your wetland approval. It's not our preview to look at wetlands, but is it going to change that as well? Just doing some due diligence myself here to make sure you guys don't have to go through the process again.
If I can throw 2 cents in, Dave
Sure.
Simons with Moser Pylon Architects. I believe the original intent was that this was going to be paved. We're dealing with budget concerns. We had to do some value engineering. There will be an ad alternate where this would be considered to be paved as part of the project. And even if upfront at the time of bid, the funds aren't available to pave it, if the project goes well and the contingencies remain intact, it could be something that could be done as at the end of the project, still within the project time frame. So it's something they really do want to do. And I think to Dana's point, all planning and calculations are planning on this being impervious ultimately.
Very good. That answers my question. Thank you.
Jen, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Just that We are allowed to do administrative approvals now, so that can certainly be something down the road. If you don't want to approve it now, we can handle it in the office as probably like a zoning permit if that.
Okay.
Uh,
I have
a comment. It's Lori. I think Dana covered everything. It's going to be gravel. If it's gravel or millings, it basically is treated just as though it's asphalt anyway. So as long as it's not expanding and the water's going all into the detention basin, it should be fine.
Okay, I have several concerns. The fire equipment itself, where is it cleaned?
It's washed usually inside the bay.
Okay, do the parking lot drains go through the oil separator?
The only parking lot drains are out away from the bays. Like they're halfway down the driveway.
No, they don't go through the separator. The separator is only for what goes to the sanitary sewer.
Okay.
And that includes the floor drains.
No,
All the floor drains inside the building go to the oil water separator.
Correct.
Which is this area here in the front. There's a little there's a concrete chamber below the surface. The pipe comes out of the building here into that structure, into that separator, and then into the sewer.
Right. So my concern would be, I would request that we put a restriction that the equipment is to continue to be washed inside the building. So any grease, oil, or contaminants on that equipment would be sent through the oil separator and out to the city sewer due to the extent of the wetlands in that area. That's just one of my concerns. Another one is the subsoil in that area is very, very wet and marshy. What are the concerns about doing a gravel parking lot out back? Is the soil below it going to maintain and hold that parking lot together, being gravel? Or are you going to dig it out and put the parking lot base in at this time so it'll, somewhat stay together?
Yes, we are proposing a pavement section for that gravel surface area, and so that'll be that's a gravel parking area here. So you see we're putting in some gravel and a base beneath it as well, and so that way we'll have some separation between the wet soils which are beneath. There is in addition some under drains being proposed, and we scaled that back a little bit because of budget costs. But this pipe here, there's a catch basin in the back, and there's a pipe heading to this catch basin on the north side of the site. That's going to have a perforated pipe under it as well. So that's going to help to drain the water down and give some relief to that area. So it's going to be improved because of the extra drainage we have. So we're going to be taking right now the water really sits there. It's just a low spot. It doesn't have an outlet. It overflows and heads in the same direction. But we'll be putting in the drainage, so that's going to help to drain it a little better.
Okay. And what is the depth of that perviated pipe below the grade of the parking lot?
It's about 3 feet.
Oh, it is 3 feet. Okay. That's all I have. Charlie McSada, you have a question?
I just had one comment that I forgot to mention when Linda talked about that tree out front. That tree, when we were deeded the property from the Hall family, is in the deed that it needs to remain there as long as it's safe. So again, we'll get somebody to come out and look at it, and if it's deemed that it's safe, it's really tied to the deed to the property that the Hall family would like it to stay there, and so would we. So we'll get somebody to come out and look at it, but as long as they deem it safe, it's, as far as we're concerned, going to be there long after we're gone.
Have you tried to contact the tree warden in town to see who's in charge at the state level as far as the tree warden goes?
I have not. That's probably a good reference.
I mean, he may have the answers for you, Charlie. Not that the tree really has any relevance to what your application is, but just for the concern of the commissioner.
Right,
But it is absolutely a beautiful tree. Reminds me of the tree out on the Simsbury line there.
right, exactly.
Yeah, beautiful.
I'll take care of that, contacting the tree warden. We'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Any other commissioner
Thank you.
questions?
I have a, Ken, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Alimo.
Yeah, back to the parking lot. So it sounds like it's all good with the permitting and they're not gonna have to come back. So what about the grading for the water, for the parking lot later? Will the grading maintain? Or are you gonna put a storm drain in the middle of that parking lot? Or is that, if it does become a parking lot, will it be able to run off correctly?
Yes, we're proposing a drain in the middle of the lot here. You can see it where
I see that. I thought that was like just underneath.
no, there's a catch basin
Oh,
there.
there is a catch basin. Oh,
Yep.
okay. I
Yep.
can't see it,
So
but
everything drains to that low spot and in through the pipe and out to the stormwater basin.
oh, great. Thank you. I didn't realize it was a catch basin. Thank you.
Any other commissioners?
No.
No. Are you through with your presentation?
I think Dave Simmons is going to describe the building now, if you'd like.
Sure, absolutely.
If you guys are all set, I'm fine, but I'd be happy to describe the exterior features.
I would like to see it.
So this was part of the submission. We did 2 drawings. One's just the overall floor plan, showing the additions and the existing. And what you're seeing now on the screen, again, Dave Simons with Moser Pylon Nelson Architects. We're working with Enfield Builders and J.R. Russo on this project. So you can see, I think the second image from the bottom is the south elevation, and that's really, if you come into the driveway, is what you're going to see. And the most formidable view you're going to see is those 4 bay doors, which are existing bay doors with the hipped roof. To the left of that is the west addition that was referred to. We're staying below the existing roof line with a small addition, and those are the support spaces that Charlie had explained. So it's the decon, the wash, the tool area with some storage. To the right of the 4 bay doors is the current existing main entry, and that will remain as such. And really from the south, the only impact that you will see is that west addition. The existing building has a CMU watercourse, base course with brick above it. And so you can see the 2 tones on the elevation there. I had mentioned earlier in my comments that we had some value engineering efforts that we had to do after schematic design. Originally, we were proposing the same CMU base with a brick that would be complementary or matching. We did need to value engineer the brick veneer out. And so the addition on the left there, it is actually stepped back a little more than a foot from the face of the existing bays. And again, it's below the roof line. We will do a similar CMU base for durability and maintenance. We will provide samples during the selection to match the existing. Above that, though, we did need to eliminate the brick veneer, and we're doing a EFIS system. And so it is a drainable system that has the air barrier, code required insulation. Our intent is to provide a color finish that would be complementary to the brick. So this kind of blends in with the existing building. In terms of the roof, the existing asphalt's the end of its life. We are replacing all the roofing. There are some flat roof areas as well. We will be replacing that. Those are not visible. You can see on that south elevation that there's some MEP equipment up in a flat area, which is in a well that's set back from the sloped roof area. There is existing equipment up there now that is being replaced with new equipment. So we will be replacing equipment in the areas that it currently does exist. And then all the existing windows will be replaced. Those are at the end of their life. Many of the stone sills are starting to spall and deteriorate. We're replacing those in kind with precast sills. The existing bay doors are white, and so one of the bigger changes aesthetically is we're proposing, if we can, it would be new doors, and we're proposing a red color for that. If we cannot, the new doors would be an ad alternate in the bid. If we can't afford those doors, we would at least get a refinishing and new weather seals and operators for those doors. On the back side, which is the north elevation right above the south, you can see that low area to the left of the bays, which again, the back north side of the building has 3 bay doors. Those would be replaced as budget allows, or at least refurbished. And then the north addition would be what you see there, kind of on the left side of the existing bay area. And that would be the north addition that Charlie mentioned, larger meeting areas and training room, and a gymnasium space, adequate dedicated gymnasium space within its own area. And then because we are doing the additions, we need more bathroom facilities. So there would be additional bathrooms in this north addition as well. So again, in terms of the appearance, we're trying to maintain, roof slopes, roof materials, we would replace in kind. The new EFIS material we would match to the brick, and we would find a complementary CMU base that would match the existing. Dana, if you want to switch to the floor plan real quick. Again, this was part of our submission. You can see black lines on all the new walls. So there's some on the interior of the existing, there's some new interior partitions, but you can see the majority of the new construction is the north and the west additions. So you can see the spaces that Charlie described on the west addition, and likewise on the north with the new gym, the bathrooms, and the classroom meeting areas. There's some reconfiguration of some of the offices within the existing. We had to keep it fairly minimal due to budget concerns. And I think an important feature that Charlie mentioned was the storage of clean versus the incoming contaminants. And so within the existing apparatus bay, we're creating a new enclosed gear storage area. So once their gear is cleaned, it's stored in here. So when the firefighters come in, they go through this clean area, get their gear on. And now currently it's within the apparatus bay, and it is potentially exposed to contaminants, which is one of the drivers for this project. And so that's why this west addition and what we're doing within that gear storage area is very important for what they're doing here.
All set?
Also, Ken,
Yes.
if I could just
Yep.
add a little bit to that back meeting room area, we can isolate that off from the rest of the building. A few years back when we were out, everybody was without power for 7 days. We did some local sheltering of residents in our fire station. People came down to use it to take showers and charge cell phones and stuff. And we couldn't block them from the operation. They were like right in the middle of the operation. This is going to be segregated. So if we had to do that again, we could keep them in the back, and there's a door between the operations of the fire day-to-day operations and what else is going on there. So that's a big plus for us. If that ever happens again and we have to do some local sheltering of people and have people in, again, to take showers and that type of stuff.
Great. Commissioner Suzak.
You know, I only have one question in terms of, I did look at the elevations and I noticed that you're removing your solar panels and you're not replacing them. Is there some truth to that, or?
At this point, we had a deal, they were put up there again for free with the solar company, and at this point, they've been, they're not interested in putting them back up there.
Are they still effective, or can you reuse them, or are they not
What-
really that effective?
They're not that effective, and what happened is a lot of the monitoring equipment that was there when they started, that you could monitor it from the internet and that type of stuff, has since broken, and the company won't replace it. So we're really not sure what we're getting for a benefit out of that. It was a term, and they're at the end of their term, and they're kind of just abandoning it.
So you get to dispose it for them?
Yeah,
How long have they been on the building?
just over 10 years.
Rich, you all set?
Yeah, no more questions.
Any other commissioners with comments or concerns?
Nope.
Okay, I see nobody's hands going up. Nobody's making comments.
Yeah.
So, Commissioner Ladd,
Yes, the utilities on the roof, they're not required to cover them like most buildings, or? I see you can see air handling units and whatever on the roof line.
There is existing equipment in that same location. We're replacing units. I won't say in kind, but there is equipment up there that is existing. And also, if you're familiar with the property, this is set back and it's fairly wooded along Bacon Road. We feel that the views of that, and this is a straight on view when you're coming in the entry drive, the apparatus bay is forward of the entry area, and the MEP equipment is fairly well set back from the front of the building, and really ultimately not visible from the road. We did not consider doing any additional screening, though, I think, to address your question.
Okay. Maybe we could ask Lori about that, how that goes with the regulations.
Lori?
Actually, I'm not, I believe that it is a requirement to screen it, but I think you might have discretion if the building is that far back. Jen, do you know about that?
It is a standard condition that all mechanical equipment be boxed and screened in the conditions of approval, but it's up to the commission if they want to remove that condition, then because the building is farther away from the street, they can, but it isn't really in the actual regulations that all of that mechanical equipment has to be boxed and screened. It's just a condition.
Isn't it that it can't be visible from the road? I'm sorry, I don't have a hand to raise, so I'm just saying, isn't it that the reason for screening is so that it's not visible from the road?
Yeah, I think that was the intent of it originally.
Okay.
But this is pre-existing, and I'm just curious as to whether or not the new equipment, and I'm guessing there is going to be new equipment, will it be larger or not?
In most cases, some of the rooftop will be slightly taller. There'll be new curbs and whatnot. So I think just new equipment in general is typically a little bit bigger. Again, the one piece of equipment looking at that south elevation is to the left of that existing chimney. You see that taller MEP equipment. It's definitely below the roof line, the height of the bay, which is well forward from that area. Unfortunately, we did not submit any street views of the existing. this is a 3D model. I mean, we can definitely look at the sight lines of that. And if it's an issue, we can address that. I think we would leave that up to you folks.
The units, are they to scale? Is that what your proposal is? It's going to be that much higher? It's going to be above the chimney?
That is at this level, we're at design development level. That's the 3D representation of the piece of equipment that the mechanical engineer has in their model. Yes. So that could be the height of the equipment. Yes.
And you're not concerned about the equipment sucking in CO out of that chimney?
I think you're not seeing the difference in the space. If you look at the east elevation, you can look at the space difference between where the MEP equipment is and where the chimney is. That's that top space, or the top view on that drawing. So there's some pretty good separation there.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Ladd, do you have your hand up again?
No, I didn't take it down yet.
Okay, Commissioner DeGray.
Just one thing, because I go by that property in both directions, going and coming home from work, and you can't see really even the chimney from the street. You'd have to really stop and look at it, but you can't see any of the equipment from the street. So I don't know if that'll stay the same.
Good.
Commissioner Grillo.
I have to say, Commissioner Nelson, that I agree with you with looking at the third one down. That looks awfully close to the chimney to me, that handling unit also. I wish I knew exactly how far apart that chimney and that handling unit was. They just look really close to me.
If you give me a second, I'm gonna go to my remote computer and I can confirm that dimension for you.
That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Ken?
Yes.
Wouldn't that, I understand your concern between the chimney and the large thing they're going to put in, but wouldn't that be something the building department would take note of if it was a potential problem?
Well, we're part of health and safety, Jenny, and
oh, I know.
If you have a strong enough crosswind and that unit is higher than the chimney, the CO coming out of the chimney is going to blow directly into that unit. I don't care if it's 5 feet away or 15 feet away. And, my concern is, some sort of screening may help with a separation or maybe lower the unit down the roof line. But I mean, looking at the pictures right now, what I'm seeing, that unit stands out huge, and we've never made an exception for screening. So I don't know that we want to set precedents and start doing it now.
No, I don't think so. I just thought it would be smaller. I thought it was kind of overdrawn. So I can understand your concern.
And that's why I asked that question. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Suzak.
Because the question I have is that, could they go with a horizontal unit in terms of, I'm not sure exactly how much of a flat space they have there, but normally, mechanical units are more horizontal than they are vertical. And, I'm not saying that they have the unit going the wrong way, but, and the only time I've ever seen units that were that tall were if they had a significant amount of exhaust, and the exhaust that they had was, somewhat undesirable or, contaminated, where you want to get it up above, the roof line into the wind so that, it doesn't, again, flow into any, units themselves. And maybe that's not really an intake unit, but that's possibly an exhaust unit. But, again, without having any real information, it's difficult to say. But, I would think that, we would sort of try to minimize the impact or the scale of things, and I think that people should, especially mechanical engineers should look at it and say, do I conform with, the requirements of zoning? And, there might be another alternative piece of equipment that one could use that does the same thing without being, a tower like that. But I think that what we could do is sort of advise them that they should, because I think to try to screen that, it might cause more visual effect than the unit itself, especially when you look at the viewpoint from the street as if you're walking up on it, or from a lower elevation. These front or full elevations are somewhat deceptive because of the fact that you're looking at it from a bird's eye view. You're not really looking at it from the street. So, but that being said, I think that everybody should strive not to have an impact on visual effects of what we see. And I would have to agree with Commissioner DeGray that from the street, if it's not a significant impact from the street, we could sort of tolerate some impact, but it should be minimized as much as possible.
This is Dave Simons again. I just double checked. The clear space from the back of the unit to the front of the chimney, with that you see on that east elevation, there is a clear space of 34 feet between the chimney and the unit.
Is there any way to lower the unit down the roof line some and hide it behind the roof line? I agree with Commissioner Suzak. The way it looks right now, anything you do to try to screen that's going to make it look worse, but I got to say it looks pretty bad. Are you looking into it, Dave, or are we?
I think we lost his vocal.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry. Sorry, I don't know what you heard there.
Nothing.
Okay, so there is a flat roof well that the existing equipment sits in there, and so the area that we have to place this is somewhat limited. We can push it further to the back towards the north, which would definitely from the view angle of the entry drive would start to move it further and further behind the apparatus bay. That brings you closer and closer to the existing chimney. I will say that. Again, the piece of equipment we have is representative. What we ultimately, because we have to name multiple manufacturers, we may end up with something slightly smaller. I don't think it would be greatly smaller than what we're showing, though. I do agree, if you put a roof screen on this, you might end up with something a lot worse.
I'm liking it.
Right, but your comment that you could end up with something slightly smaller could also go the other way, and it could be slightly larger.
Not by much. Yes, but you're right.
And my next question would be, what do you do for trash on this facility? I don't see any dumpster pads.
We use the two-wheel tippers. We just have one or two of them that we use, two gray ones and two blue ones. That's on a weekly basis.
Okay. All right. Anything else that you gentlemen would like to add? Charlie, you're all set?
Yeah. Again, I think if this is approved and we move forward, it's going to make the operational level of the fire department a lot better than where we are right now, and it's going to improve firefighter safety along with that. So we're hoping that the commission will approve it.
Commissioner Alimo. Commissioner Alimo, you're muted.
Sorry, here I am. Back to the handling unit, the air handler, the HVAC. If they run into a problem and they can't relocate it or get it into the right spot, not sure if it's possible to put it on the ground on a pad out back and get it right off the roof. Maybe that would be helpful. Just a thought. If it's acceptable, easier. If you have the room.
This is a ducted unit directly out the bottom of the unit. I think locating this on the ground would, the distribution of the existing, those are where the existing units are. And so while we're replacing all the existing ductwork, we're relying on the space that occupies to distribute to the building. Within the existing building, we're maintaining a lot of the existing spaces. I think there would definitely be some added cost locating a unit on the ground and then having to come into the building that way.
Just a thought, just trying to.
And yeah.
Just a thought. I just thought maybe it would be helpful.
Okay, commissioners, any questions, comments, or concerns? How do you want to proceed? I have the two concerns, and one of them would be the screening of that HVAC unit. If they cannot tuck it behind the roof line, then I believe something needs to be done to screen it or move it. Then replacing the existing ductwork in the building, the cost is already there. It may be a little more if you had to move it to the ground or to another location, but it wouldn't be astronomical. And then my other concern was
Washing the trucks in the interior of the building?
Thank you very much, Commissioner Suzak. Those are my only two concerns. Other than that, I mean, I think Shaker Pines does a beautiful job maintaining their building. It's beautiful from the road. And that's where I kind of have the issue, because you can see it from the road. I look at it all the time, and always wonder if they're going to bring back the haunted hay rides, which were such a great thing for the town of Enfield. And I was sad to see them stop doing it, but it's a beautiful building like all our fire stations. And I just don't want to see that HVAC unit sticking up like a top hat.
And Ken, Charlie McSada again, it is the practice now of washing the trucks inside the station, and that will remain in practice as we move forward.
Right, absolutely, Charlie. So that one there, I just want to in the approval, so it really shouldn't change anything, any of your practices at this point.
Right, thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Alimo. You're muted again.
I forgot to put my hand down.
Oh, okay. So at this time,
I get the same problem.
At this time, if the commission's ready to move forward, I will take a motion. Unless there's commissioners who would like to hold off for a particular reason, please state that at this point before Rich makes a motion. Jen?
My only question was just who exactly is seated for alternates and who isn't, just before you go into motions.
Well, right. Commissioner Petronella abstained, so he's not even involved.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. Just double checking. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can't raise my hand because I'm the host. So
I know
Well,
the
you're-
feeling, and I'm not the host.
You're running the meeting with me, Lori, so you're guiding me.
yeah, no, you're doing a great job. I just wanted to just remind people that that building is about 400 feet from the road. So hopefully they could just maneuver that device on the roof such that it's just not going to be as visible.
Can we put a condition that says it must be minimized as much as possible? Ken,
Well,
is
what does that
something
mean?
we could do?
that doesn't mean anything, Ginny. I mean,
Okay.
I would just, if it's going to be seen from the road, I would want to know.
You know, I was going to state something along the lines that the scale of the mechanical unit should be, you know, minimized to prevent, you know, exposure from the road.
What
I
was
think
it? One
Ken's
more
right.
time, Rich.
The scale of the mechanical unit should be, you know, lowered so that it does not provide exposure from the road.
Oh, I agree that, and if they can do
Visibility.
that, then I'm good with no screening.
Right.
But if you're going to see it from the road, I think they need to come back with some sort of a screening plan,
Right.
which
And
I
at this,
hate to have them do, but
but at this time, as long as we don't know what's going on, we can sort of make that a condition, and, you know, they would try their darnest to achieve that, you know, goal, just so that they could sort of, you know, maintain the integrity of the building and not create any additional costs. And, you know, like you said, I think that sometimes, you know, the mechanical equipment, you know, could be, you know, somewhat scaled down, but, you know, it's difficult to say.
right.
Unfortunately, this is a retrofit,
Right.
so we've got to keep that in mind as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but the unit is a lot bigger, which is protruding it above the roof line a lot more because of the additions, not the retrofit.
Well, they're not really changing that roof line at all.
And I don't think
They're
the
doing-
mechanical
they're
units
doing
are that
two-
much bigger.
They're doing 2 additions, which is going to require a larger HVAC system.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, current codes just require more air, period. So,
I agree with Commissioner Suzak. I mean, if they can hide it behind the roof line, however they choose to do it, I'm fine with no screening. But if you can see that unit from the street, then I want to see some sort of a screening plan. I mean, I'm only one person on the commission, so how the commission chooses to proceed forward, but those would be my only 2 conditions other than the standards.
How about adding to that, perhaps that staff has to review the final design? And if we feel it needs to go back to the commission, we could do that.
Rich said it right. If you see it from the road, it needs to be screened.
But you can see it now, right?
We don't have that to show us.
Lori,
Yeah.
was it in the when they built the fire station 10 years ago? We should still have the files. It's too bad we hadn't looked at that to see the, you know, maybe they got a pass on screening.
My guess it probably wasn't in there, but I don't know.
Correct.
I have a question for staff, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Limo?
Other than the conditions we're discussing now, to staff, is there anything in this application that doesn't meet our requirements or our codes? I see a head shaking. Yeah, everything is complying?
Yes, you know, based upon, there
That's
was
all I really want. Thank you.
staff report that came in that indicated that they did conform with everything that we have in our regulations, more or less.
Except the screening.
Right, except the screening, right.
All right, if I may, I have actually up on my computer Google Maps with the street view. If you guys want me to share screens, I can show you what it looks like that way.
Sure.
Well, if you can.
Is it wintertime screening or summertime screening?
It looks pretty sunny out there, pretty green.
That's I think Ken is mentioned that it was like he could see it from the street, and he probably could see it from the street if there's no leaves, so it should be winter or fall.
Well,
you
right,
can see it from the street in the summer too.
Oh, okay.
Can you put it up, Jen?
I would just need Dana to not share his screen so I could share mine.
I appreciate the applicant's patience. This is definitely a learning curve for me. I'm not too computer savvy, and thank God we have a great staff to help us get through
Like the
this.
motorcycle.
And I know we're kind of
Sorry,
the
Ken.
guinea pigs.
So there's a lot of trees out front. And that's sort of what you end up seeing.
Charlie's motorcycle, I think, we just seen.
So I can go back
Oh.
if you want.
Yeah, go back
Back
because
up.
I think that what happens is it's between the main addition and that little side addition to the right or to the west. So I think that if you can show us the apparatus bay, right, go right there, like that's the area that we're looking at in terms of basically it's between the where you see the four apparatus bay doors and the office addition, the main entrance to the right of that. And that's where the unit is located that we were looking at before, because that's where the chimney is, and then the unit was behind there.
Can you zoom in on that?
I don't think it lets me go down that little driveway.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's really what we're looking at is that view right there.
It's not too obvious to me.
Looking at that, Rich, if I'm looking correctly, it looks like we can see just the top of the existing unit that's there.
Yeah, there might be there's a little blurb there, just above the first door.
It's hard to tell if that's actually a light or the unit, but
Ken, try to hit the plus on the bottom of the screen and see if it'll zoom in. It may not go down the driveway, but it might zoom for us.
Ken, there's also solar panels around that side of the building also.
I'm
I
not
think
even
those
saying
are
that's
solar
it.
panels.
No, see, it's not it. That's just a branch.
Yeah, well, I think that's
Those are the solar
light.
panels.
That's the box light that we're seeing.
Oh,
No,
I
I was
see.
looking on the, I was looking at
Right
the
there.
administrative. I was looking on the administrative part of the building, Rich, and it wasn't a box, it's a branch hanging off the
Right
back. So from this picture here, you don't see any mechanicals.
Correct.
Right there. It's
Where?
right there.
yeah, you can.
I don't see any.
Up above the solar panels.
Oh, these are,
Right
yeah,
there.
these are solar panels.
Yeah, I
That's a
know the
light.
solar panels.
That's a light.
Up above the solar panels.
That's a light.
That's a
Right
light?
there.
Oh, okay,
That's a street light.
I don't see any
Gotcha.
mechanicals from this view.
okay.
So Charlie, or Dana, anybody, where exactly is the mechanicals located in this picture?
it's on that. You can see this is Dave Simons. You can see the white line between the sloped roof of the admin and the sloped roof of the, that's the roof edge of the flat roof, which is where the mechanical units are sitting. So in this case, they're far enough back where you don't see the existing units.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. It's been said that you can see the existing units now, they got waivers for screening. That is not the case. You cannot see the units at this time. So there was no special waiver given. And I'm perfectly fine with this the way it is right here. But the renderings that you have, they're showing, you're going to see a 4 to 5 foot.
That is a straight on elevation. So what we need to do is, if you're willing, the way that you had worded it before, and it was up to staff to review it, we can replicate, again, we have 3D modeling of all this. We will replicate this exact view with the right sized equipment to make sure that you do not see it on this view if you think that's the right approach.
I would be 100% okay if you can do whatever you want to do with the mechanicals, as long as you don't see them from the front of the building. Put them on the bigger slope, it doesn't matter to me. But if you are going to end up seeing something from the front, we will have to come back and discuss some sort of screening. That's how I look at it. So if you think you can pull it off,
Is this the front?
What's that?
Yeah, so my question is this the front? This is the view from the road. This is
Yes.
what you're concerned about, correct?
This is my concern.
Because,
Yep.
yeah, the elevations we presented are a straight on flat elevation, so that the unit could be 30 feet back from the edge of the roof, but you're going to see it like it's looming tall over everything. So
100%. I agree with everything you're saying. Yep.
we know what we need to do. So
How do the other commissioners feel? Dana, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to, just to make sure that we understood that when staff looks at it, they're gonna be looking at it from the driveway, which is this view we're looking at now. So, and I think that, it looks like when the new unit goes in, you're not gonna see it. Unless it's much bigger, but I didn't get the impression it was much bigger. It was a little bit bigger. And so my guess is you're not gonna be able to see it. So, but if that's not the case, they'll have to move it or come back.
When the staff is out there doing their inspection and they're on Bacon Road at the mouth of your driveway, if they don't see it, I'm good with it.
Okay, great.
Any other commissioners? At this time, would you guys like to move forward? Can I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve SPR 1806 with the draft resolution as prepared by staff dated April 9th, 2020, with the 27 conditions indicated and 2 additional conditions. And the 2 additional conditions would be, the site-specific conditions would be that the trucks will be washed within the apparatus bay of the building or anywhere they want in a building. And the scale of the mechanical unit exposure should not be seen from the road. The scale of the mechanical unit will be lowered so that it will not be seen from the road.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Can I have roll call, please?
Ken Nelson,
4.
Charles Ladd,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Virginia Higley,
4.
Vinnie Grillo,
4.
and Richard Suzak is 4.
All in favor, none against?
Didn't call on me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Frank Limo? Frank Limo. I'm
4.
sorry.
4, that's okay. 4.
That's because you weren't in the beginning of the meeting, Frank. Okay, so congratulations, Charlie, and to the rest of the fire department. Keep up the great job.
Thank you, everyone.
very much.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have extension request, PH Public Hearing 2939 2 Enfield Street. Asking for a 150-day extension.
Mr. Chair, there is a letter that was submitted for that application, so I'll make a motion that we approve the extension for PH 2939 for another 150 days.
I have a question. Oh, somebody has a second. All right, I'll second it, but then I have a question.
Commissioner Higley.
It says they're requesting their 3rd extension, I'm sorry. How many extensions can they have, or is there no number to it?
I don't believe there's a limit on the extensions that the commission can grant on filing the special permit. I know there's a limit if they were before you looking for an approval, but they're caught up in the DOT right now. That's the issue.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Motion's made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Ken Nelson,
4.
Charles Ladd,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Virginia Higley,
4.
Frank Alimo,
4.
and Richard Suzak is 4.
All in favor? None against? Next, other business, review of bylaws. We're awaiting review still.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That was simple. General discussion of regulations and procedures, reviewing the request for proposed plan of conservation and development. Anything new? Jen?
Lori.
Unfortunately, we kind of got sidetracked with the COVID issues. So we've been doing a lot of stuff that was not planned. I'm hoping to get that finished next week if I can get a hold of John Wilcox, because he's doing budget right now. So he has to approve the final. So we're working on it. And the other thing is we will be interviewing assistant town planners in 2 weeks from tomorrow. So we will be moving forward.
And do we have applicants?
Yes, we have 4 very good ones.
Nice, very good,
Yeah.
very good. Okay, correspondence.
I don't have anything.
Nothing. Commissioner correspondence. Anybody?
Nope.
Okay, town planner report.
Pandemic. So it has been a chore to figure out how to work these meetings and stuff. I do want to give IT like high props, because it was their doing to get the stuff up and running for the whole town, and it's been great. So the only other thing that I would say is we are pretty much up and running. We're going to be this ended up being a good test run, so we'll be doing more of these with all the commissions. And next time we do this, we'll probably be having some public hearings, so it'll be a little bit more challenging, but this was a good practice session.
Great.
I think that's about it.
All right, commissioners correspondence. Frank Limo.
I just had a question for Lori. When the applicants are before us at a public hearing, where would they be? At their own residence, or are they going to be in an area we're going to assign them to, so they can interface with this?
So it will be exactly the way it is tonight.
Okay.
Only, anybody that wants to call in and speak during a public meeting or during the public hearing, then we'll have to call on them. So we'll probably put some instructions ahead of time to try to get them to log on early, so we can identify them as a guest. Like, I think Marianne Turner is still on. We would probably, rename her phone number to, Marianne Turner, or just guest 1 or guest 2 or something like that.
So any resident will be able to come in that way?
Absolutely. Just like all of you came in, the public can come in.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
also being recorded on YouTube too. So
So it's live on YouTube?
live on YouTube.
Oh,
Apparently there's a little lag time from what I'm told, but that's why you see ETV is on here. However, it will be posted on ETV, I think, tomorrow. Is the
And
way
the
that-
the applicants will use the same process as the applicants before us tonight?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Lori, do you have a way to shut somebody down and remove
I
them
actually-
from the meeting?
I could mute all of you right now and you wouldn't be able to talk.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I'm still learning that too, but apparently I can't raise my hand because I'm the host. So that's
So,
why I keep trying to interrupt. Sorry.
so is there, I see the delay as a good thing, because God forbid we get somebody who calls in and then, decides to use vulgar language or whatever they might do. I mean, you got to be fast enough to shut them down,
Yeah.
but with the delay, maybe ETV would be able to edit it out.
There, I just muted you. How did that work?
That's
So I have that ability. I don't know if anybody else has. I guess you probably don't. Jen, do you have it? Like, if you somebody's picture, do you have the mute option?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have the ability to mute anybody at any time.
You're the ruler.
One more question.
Didn't sign up for that.
Commissioner Limo?
Are you going to be planning another trial run with us before the next meeting to go through it again?
We certainly can.
I think if we could all get together and find the time might be helpful for me.
Okay.
Commissioner
I'd
DeGray.
like to find my hand.
I
Commissioner
just want to
DeGray.
thank Lori and Jen for doing this, because this was a big test for the town and for all of us. And the only thing that I did have a problem with, and I'm going to have to come in and get the plans, because I thought I could zoom in on the plans, but I can't. So next time I will have to come in and get a set of plans. So I will be calling you before the next meeting. But
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Maybe that's something that you guys can work on as far as zooming, because you were able to zoom that Google page, that map to us.
Yeah, but still, I agree with Commissioner DeGray. I actually went in and picked up a set of plans because I tried every which way there was online to expand the plans so I could read them. And it's just, I guess I'm old school. And, you know, like I said the other day, this is a learning curve, especially for me. So I appreciate the patience of the residents of Enfield, and I hope they just understand that, you know, the quicker we get these done and approved, the faster we can turn our town around and get back on our feet and continue moving forward. And I think we have a great staff. I know the town council was really watching to see how we were going to make out tonight, because they're going to have their first meeting Monday. So I think this was a great test run. And like I said, you know, I apologize to the residents, but we're all learning too. And we're just trying to move forward to make it a better community for everybody in today's day and age.
We have no problems with anybody picking up the plans. Just so you know, everything that I've heard is that the germ, the virus could stay on paper for up to 24 hours or beyond. So when we get the plans, we let them sit for a while before we'll touch them. So when we deliver them outside to you with your name on it, we'll probably use gloves or sanitizer on our hands. And then you should try to use whatever measures you can to not touch them and let them sit for another day. So the sooner that you want them, the better, actually. So we could work on that as well.
Well, I'm going to be honest. The main reason I picked the plans up is with the shortage of toilet paper. You never know what it may come down to. So. We got to laugh. We got to laugh and make the best out of it. You know, I'm sure people will criticize, but you know what? It's time to laugh and make the best of the situation.
If we do pick them up, it's still going to be the Friday before the meeting when they become available, time-wise?
Probably before that, I think, right, Jen? I think we have most of them already.
Yeah, the packets going out on Friday, that was really just a staffed timeline thing to get all of the reports and the copying and the collating. But the plans are never an issue. We just have them delivered by the applicant to the office, so they're always there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're not doing the paper packets because it would be too hard for us to copy them all, and then the germs from one to the other, and then they get carried to somebody else, and the social distancing would not work with getting the packets together. So in the
Lori.
Yes.
When will you have the agenda so we'll know which plans we want to ask for?
We'll be working on it. Well, probably Monday. We have tomorrow off, so.
So will you be sending the agendas out on Friday like we were getting our packets?
So the goal for us right now is, and the governor's executive order says that we don't have to have anything but 24 hours in advance, as long as it's all on the website. Our goal is to still do things a week ahead of time, the Friday before the meetings, to get all the information up on the website for all the applications, including the agenda. So that we're going to try to continue to do that, even though we could just do it 24 hours in advance. It's not fair to the commission. It's not fair to the applicant to do that, though.
Absolutely, I agree. Commissioner DeGray.
Just a suggestion, and I just thought about it, is maybe you could email us and a specific day that they would be ready for us, because you and Kenny are going to talk about the agenda earlier than later. Then we can just come in, drop by and pick them up, and we don't need people coming to our houses, and they'll be in an envelope sitting there. And we just grab the envelope and leave, instead of, you can have them all set for us.
Well, she's not doing
think it's a good
agendas. She's not doing
No,
agendas, just plans.
No. I'm just saying the plan. You
Oh,
and
right.
Lori have already talked about the agenda, and so she'll know what plans. But say on Tuesday, the plans will be, and I'm making this up, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I could be fully, what, but say Tuesdays, plans are ready. You can stop by and pick them up. And that way they're not running back and forth trying to figure out, oh, well, Kenny calls on Monday, wants his, Linda wants hers on Tuesday, Charlie wants his on Wednesday, Ginny wants hers on Thursday. Just one day, we all go one time, done.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm just talking.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Jen and I will probably have to work
Think
out
about
time frames. I don't think it would be wise for us to be putting them in those envelopes that you usually get.
No, I don't want envelopes.
That's plastic, and that could contain the virus for like up to 3 or 4 days, they're saying.
But again, I'm just talking,
So
just ideas.
no, I totally get. I think it's a great idea that we set a day. Usually we've got the drop box out front. We keep it out there from 9 to 11 unless we've made actual appointments to take in an application. So we could work something like that out with all of you as well.
Right. I don't want to, overwhelm. You guys have your hands full as it is. I made a call to Jen. Jen had the packet out there. 2 seconds, it was done. And, I think right now let's worry about the next meeting with the public participation. Because that's going to be for all meetings, including the council. And I think that's our next biggest goal.
Right.
If the commissioner wants a set of plans, they can call up. You guys will leave them out like you did for me, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
And we keep moving forward the best, and we learn, and ideas like Linda's and stuff like that, we can address them down the road and try to work this out. Hopefully it's not much longer, but who knows? And you know what? We may learn a few things going through this that we may want to keep as we move forward. It's kind of nice sitting at home, this meeting, and I can turn off the video when I want.
I don't know. I'm sitting here and my dog is snoring. I was afraid you might hear that.
Nope.
Okay. Everybody, commissioners all done?
Yeah, I think
Hey,
I was thinking that
can you
maybe
go
we do
look
another.
at your email? I sent an idea for the flyer for the cards, but I want you to look at it and see if
We can hear Mary Ann, so I think you need to mute her.
Yeah, Mary.
Ah,
Where is she? I
thought
gotta
she
get
was
to her.
talking.
I was trying to figure out what that was. It was Mary Ann.
That's Project Unlimited, you just muted her.
Right. It's not public communication. So, commissioners' correspondence, everybody's done. Commissioner Petronella, Commissioner Grillo, anybody?
Nope.
Okay, moving on to the town planner's report. She has nothing. Administrative authorization for administrative approvals.
Actually, I should change that to just admin approval or admin approval report, but that was our first admin approval to report out to you, which is Dunkin' Donuts is renovating on Elm Street, renovating their location. I think the interior, but as well as the exterior signage and whatnot. We're changing menu boards and all that. So And then a couple minor site work things, repaving or of a small area for concrete near the menu boards in the drive-through, but that was it.
And they are allowed to have a microphone out there, correct?
Yes, they already have one.
Yeah. Okay, well, congratulations on the first administrative approval.
Many more to come.
Yeah, and next, applications to be received.
I had my hand up for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Alimo.
I think that example, that Dunkin' Donuts and the way we're doing these administrative approvals, that particular kind of use, that example, I think it's a home run. That was perfect. If we didn't have that, we would have had to go through a different process. And I think that's a very good example of streamlining and what we want to see achieved for our customers.
Yeah, I will say that application was received and approved during lockdown, so.
Wow. Besides, I mean, good thing we had that in place, you know?
Yep.
Great. That was very good. Good job.
Applications to be received.
There are 4 listed, and those are the 4 public hearings that we have in the office. I believe outside of those 4 listed, there is 1 site plan review in addition, and those are technically, well, 5 things that would be going on to the next agenda. This is a good section too, if you're looking at what plans to be asking for in advance of the meeting. We usually try to list as much as possible in the applications to be received, just to give you guys a heads up on what's coming.
Because the only thing I noticed is public hearing 2970, that should be 34 North Maple Street rather than Maple Street.
That came up actually. The applicant, because I told the applicant the same thing when he was applying, that it was 34 North Maple Street, not Maple Street, and he said no. And actually, if you go to the GIS and you go to the assessor's card, it's assessed. It's on the land records as 34 Maple Street, and that's it.
But isn't there a Maple Street up near the state line off of North Maple Street? Isn't there, or is it Route 5? I think there is a Maple Street. There's a Maple Avenue, a Maple Street,
And a
North
Maple
Street,
Road.
and South Maple Street. Yes,
I think Maple Road, Jenny, is that dirt road out by Armadas.
that's what I was referring to. I'm sorry, I said street. I meant road. But
Yep.
that confused the heck out of me until I figured it out.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it is Maple because I had a house out there and I did the same thing and it's not North Maple.
Ah,
At least that one little section's not.
I think it has
Oh,
to do
okay.
with the how old the property is. The house on that property was built in like 1872 or something like that.
ah, okay.
Commissioner
thank you.
Alimo, you have another question? You're muted.
Just under the applications to be received, I'm just a little surprised. We were being rushed from the new mall owners and I don't see anything from them. Just saying.
Okay,
Mr.
Jen?
Chairman, I just want to, I think we staff should just take it upon ourselves to make sure that you just get the plans for the next agenda. We'll just assume you want all of them.
Thank you.
Well,
Does
like,
everybody agree to that? Does
Yep,
everybody?
as long as
want
it's not a
plans?
problem for you. Yep.
Is
Yes.
for clarification, is this only for the large scale plans or the plans? Because everything listed, there's only 2
There's only 2
real
listed.
applications listed there, and neither of them have large size
would-
plans.
I
Yeah,
agree,
I was gonna say
agree
you-
with Jen. It is large scale plans only, something that we can't, print out or something that's bigger than what we see on our computer screen. Because these particular applications I've already printed out and
Same here.
they're just 8 by 11s. So, but the fire department was actually a full set of plans. So I agree with Jen. I think it should be full sets of plans that the applicant brings to the town hall and they basically just, they're messengers, they leave them out front for us. And that's the extent of the handling.
Right,
Agreed.
yeah, so the
Rich, you
24 by
good with that?
plans.
Yes.
Okay,
Rich, you're good with that? You're muted.
Yes, I am. In the terms of, I already downloaded the smaller plans, and I have the luxury of actually printing them at 11 by 17, so they're twice your size. So I think this is much simpler.
Okay, opportunities and unresolved issues, combining planning and zoning and commission and wetlands. I don't believe the town council has moved on that yet, so I would say that, we carry that to the next meeting.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it never even got to the council because it was right before the COVID hit and they didn't have their meeting and they haven't,
Right.
at this point,
Yep.
they haven't had any meetings. So I
Right.
haven't even brought it to them yet.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to postpone or anything, or just move it to the next meeting?
I'll
good.
just keep it on the agenda, just like I do for the zoning regs and POCD.
Okay. Well, I think it was a success. Thanks to Jen and Lori for their hard work, and definitely IT in the town of Enfield. And
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And for our chairperson who's run it so well, you really took the ball and ran with it, Ken. Did a good job.
I'm telling you right now, Lori and Jen are 100% behind this, because I really should have had my 7-year-old grandson sitting next to me, because he could have done this a lot easier for me. And that's why I was saying to the Enfield residents, I am learning as I go, and just please bear with us. Next meeting, we're going to do our best to make sure everybody who wants to speak can speak, and try to run a normal meeting under the sense of normal today, and we'll see what happens. And
This,
I
this
think
is
we're
the new.
yeah.
Yep. I think you all did great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, or can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I moved
Make
to
a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
A second. Roll call.
Just raise your hands.
No, roll call, Rich. You wanted roll call. We're doing roll call.
Not to adjourn. I don't
All
think
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a great night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.